Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Becky, and we're parents to 2 little kids. Parenting isn't always easy. There are ups and downs, good days and bad days, days with way too much TV, and days with lots of laughter. Moments where you just feel overwhelmed, and moments where you've never felt more proud.
At the end of the day, parenting is super rewarding, but also super hard. This podcast is for all the parents out there who feel like they have no idea what they're doing, because we're right there with you. This is the Spillproof podcast.
Welcome back to the Spillproof podcast. I'm Becky.
And I'm Dave.
And it's been a hot minute, but you know, life comes at you fast with 2 little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we are back with a podcast on Thanksgiving 2021.
We are, and it's been a little while since Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Been a lot of stuff going on, but we wanted to get this out before Christmas, and I think that we're hopefully going to get it out by tomorrow, which will be Christmas Eve.
That's so ambitious, but let's go
very
for it.
ambitious. So maybe we'll try to keep this a little bit shorter than the normal one, which we say that every time that we start, and honestly, it just...
Yeah, but maybe for the sake of getting it out tomorrow, we'll be succinct.
Will be what?
Succinct? Isn't maybe like just like to the point? I think, I hope that's what that means.
Anybody that's listening, pick up your phone and Google succinct.
Used a big word. Hopefully I used it right.
What do they call that? Like a 4-letter word? What do they call
A 4-letter word?
I don't know.
No.
College word.
It's college. I think it's just...
It's a fancy way of saying direct to the point.
Yeah, succinct.
Maybe. Or maybe it's not. We don't know. Because we don't have our
I'm
phones
right.
near us. All right. So we're talking about Thanksgiving.
We are. Last year for Thanksgiving, we had a smaller group.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, it was 2020.
It was 2020, so
everybody
like it was
probably had a
smaller,
smaller
right?
group.
Yeah. We were masked most of the time except for eating, and we were like 10 feet away from my parents and my uncle, like at this huge table.
Yeah, we kind of did like restaurant rules. I guess I didn't think about that, but we were at like a table that was probably 20 feet?
Yeah, it's long.
Yeah.
It's supposed to fit like 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
And we like dined at either end with our kids. And so we had our masks and outside of the eating, we had our masks on. So this year we were like, okay, we feel pretty good. The adults are vaccinated. Some of the kids were vaccinated. It's like the kids who could be were vaccinated pretty much. And we were like, yeah, let's do this. And one of the family members, it was going to be a bigger group this year too. And one of the family members was like, I still feel a little bit uncomfortable. So can everyone take an at-home COVID test the day before just to like, make sure we're safe. Let's like, let's play it safe.
Yeah.
Let's do the right thing. And we were totally down, totally supportive.
We were actually like, we probably should have thought of that with our kids not being able to be vaccinated.
Right? Yeah. So we were like, why didn't we think of that? This is such a great idea. Such a great idea.
Spoiler alert, it wasn't great.
It wasn't great. And I'm sure that like at-home COVID tests are correct 85% of the time.
Supposedly.
At the time, the data said that at-home COVID tests were correct.
Not taking into account for brand or how you do it.
Time, yeah. So
you can see where this is going.
Yeah, it was, but we were totally down. We were totally supportive. We have felt really uncomfortable at certain times and like have always appreciated when family members were like,
honestly,
we
I
got
think
you.
Everybody has their own threshold for what seems safe. And it causes double standards and all sorts of like crazy stuff. But honestly, this seemed like a very universal thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we weren't even... It was more of a precautionary thing. Like most at-home tests, if you've taken an at-home test, they've got two tests. So you do one, and then I think, was it 2 or 3 days later, you're supposed to take another?
Like within 48 hours, you're supposed to do another. So this is like after you've traveled
Yeah, this is if you think that you actually have COVID.
Yeah, and I know like right now they do recommend before a bigger gathering. Like technically the CDC recommends before a bigger gathering to like, hey, just do it the day of to make sure you're good, whatever. Yeah.
So we what we did is they're very expensive. They're about $25 a piece, give or take, $5. And again, there's 2 tests in there. You're supposed to take one and then 3 days later take another. So what we did is we broke them up and we decided to just do one test each.
Yeah, there's 4 of us in our house.
Again, none of us had symptoms. None of us was sick.
We were good.
And that
daycare had been good.
Yeah, nothing reported at daycare. And I think there's only been a couple since the beginning of
There's been like 2 since the beginning at daycare.
Honestly,
yeah.
Daycare's been fantastic. I can't speak enough about that. But so we took the tests and we broke them up into individual. And that 85% is for 85% positivity.
Fall off an 85% that it's that the test is correct when it gives you a positive.
Correct. What it doesn't cover is if you're negative.
No, when it's negative, it's like 98% correct or something.
Well, I guess we're just really lucky then.
No, well, it's 85%. If it's positive, it's 85. Like it gets it right 85% of the time. Mm-hmm. And then a false positive is 15% of the time.
Right, but the negative number was different.
If you get a negative, yeah, it's much less. The rate of error is much less. Your chair is so squeaky.
Is that me?
Yeah, your chair's so squeaky.
Where's the other chair?
It's behind you.
All right, let me get the other chair.
Okay.
I thought that was you.
No, I stopped moving to see if it was me. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. That one's horrible. It's like about to fall apart. Sounds like.
I think it just needs to be tightened. I thought it was you.
I literally stopped breathing to see if it was me, and it was you. I was like,
well, it's gonna be a lot of squeaking at the beginning of this podcast.
Sorry, everyone. Dave changed his chair because it was so squeaky.
Yes. Might just leave this in. I don't know. Like I said, we're trying to get this out tomorrow, so the lack of editing might, might be left in.
So
squeaky chair.
It's so cut back to it's Wednesday around lunch, and I'm like,
because we thought that'd be a great time.
Yeah, we're all together. Dave and I are both having lunch with the kids.
Again, we're both work from home in case nobody was caught up on that now.
Yes, we're both work from home. So, we're like, let's do this. So we have 2 COVID tests, 4 tests within the 2 COVID tests, 4 nostril tests, and like we each get one. There's 4 of us. So I think Emmy and I go first. The girls go first. We're negative. We're good. But okay, so for those who haven't taken one.
Yeah, go through this and explain the test.
It's like a pregnancy test, right? Where like they tell you that like there's obviously the control line, but if the test line, if there's any line at all, it's positive. And so like when you're trying to get pregnant, you're like hoping for that line. And sometimes you like manifest a line there that isn't there. And in this like instance, I was so worried irrationally because none of us had symptoms that it was going to be positive, that I was like looking for that, that line, right? Like any line, doesn't matter. Anything is positive. So Emmy and I are like solid negatives. Then we do Owen and I'm panicking. I'm like, I think I see a line. I think I see a line.
And I look at it and there's no line.
Yeah. My mom looks at it. She was here. There was no line.
If you squint really hard sideways and then like draw a line on it, there might have been a line.
But it was one of those things where I was like, I think, like even I admitted, I was like, I think I'm making it up in my head.
Yeah.
So at this point we were like 3 negatives. Dave is last. We're like, we're good.
Yeah.
Right? Like none of us have symptoms. We're good. This is just a precautionary thing.
Nobody had any symptoms. We didn't have any reason to take these tests.
It's honestly the first time in like months that we've all been symptom. But we have not had COVID, but like our kids have had everything else.
RSV,
right?
colds.
RSV, just like colds, like daycare viruses.
Yeah. Which each time having to get a COVID test.
Right? Like our son.
Because they can't go back to daycare.
Yeah. Our son has gotten tested over 10 times. We counted. It's out of control. Because, you can't go back until you get tested. Out of control.
Right.
So, you wait the 10 minutes. For this test, you had to wait 10 minutes.
Yeah, this one, did you go over how this test works? Because
you shove it up your nose. You swirl it around each nostril 5 times or something. And then you stick it in the solution. You swirl it around in the solution, and then you try to get as much as you can.
It was like a little vial.
You scrape it off the side. Yeah, you scrape it, the swab into the vial, and then you stick the test strip into the vial, and you wait 10 minutes. So Dave's test, I look at it first, and I'm like...
Yeah, because I went back to work.
Yeah, you were like, lunch was over at that point, and, he's like, we're all like, it's going to be fine. So I look at it, and I'm like, crap. I think I see a line, but I always think I see a line because I have a lot of anxiety and like my mind always goes to worst case scenario. So I show my mom and she's like, no, I didn't. I walked it down to you.
You walked it down to me first.
And I was like, do you see a line?
I said no.
And I was like, but no, any line is positive.
And there was like the faintest of faint lines. Like you had to squint really hard, use a magnifying glass, take a light to it. We actually had to bring it up to the fluorescent light that's in my office. And I've got a giant shop light downstairs in the basement because it's all wood paneling and it's really dark. So we bring it up to that. And like blasting light into it, you could see like the faintest of faint lines.
Yeah. You almost thought you were crazy making it up. But I was, Dave, this looks like a positive. And then I showed my mom and she said, I think I might see one too. And she had actually had extra ones in the car. And so she was like, get an extra one, bring it to Dave, have him take another one. And we actually tested Owen too, because by that point I was convinced that the phantom line earlier was also a positive.
Well, so you didn't explain that though. So Owen's actually ended up showing the same brightness of line past the duration that
but after 5, like you're only supposed to read the results for the first 5 minutes. After 5 minutes the results are technically invalid,
but we still took it as it's possible.
But I looked at his later and I was like,
we looked at an invalid test.
I looked at an invalid test and said, this is positive. I'm spiraling at this point because I really didn't want to miss Thanksgiving. So, and also like my mom was in our house, so we were kind of
the person who was like cooking,
hosting.
Thanksgiving.
Well, we should have said we were doing 2 Thanksgivings. So we were doing
that's right. Yeah, we have
the first
2 Thanksgiving
at my parents' house,
which is pretty common.
Yeah, and then so we were going to do that around lunchtime, and then dinner time we were doing it at your mom's house. So yeah, I'm panicking. We go and do the second test, you and Owen. And then I'm convinced that those are also both positive.
Yeah, I don't remember. Did they have lines? I don't remember them having lines, but at that point,
Owen's
we saw
was
positive.
super, super, super faint. If there was one. If there was one.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
And yours was there.
Mine was there-ish. More-ish than it was.
Yeah. At this point.
That's right, because then we were like, okay, so it's like 2 out of 2-ish.
Yeah, at this point, I am extremely panicked because we've been super careful. And yes, our kids go to daycare. Like when we go out, we always wear masks. Our kids always wear masks. Like even Emmy wears a mask when she's out, and she's 16 months.
Yeah. I mean, we take every precaution we possibly can. Hand sanitizers in the car, the diaper bag, wash hands, try to social distance. I mean, we go out of our way. We don't go anywhere that we shouldn't. We don't go out anywhere that isn't necessary. I mean, we...
Like, it's probably, like, was overkill in the summer.
Yeah. But now it's appropriate now.
No, hello, Omicron.
Yeah. So
we're I'm in
full panic mode.
Dave was in calm panic mode. He kept saying, we have no symptoms. This is not accurate. We don't have COVID. Yeah,
because we took the test for not no good reason. We had a reason for it, but we took the test without having symptoms.
Yeah.
So there was no
we had no reason to believe that we had it. And granted, people do get it without symptoms. They're asymptomatic.
But our only factor for exposure was daycare. And there were no outbreaks at daycare.
There were no reported cases,
right.
Yeah.
That's the only way we could have caught it.
So...
Caught it.
I mean, we do see family, though. So technically there was ways.
The phantom circle around our circle is
right when like the adults are vaccinated, but breakthrough cases. Anyways,
they're a little older, so they take a little more. What do you call it? Liberties.
They just do more things than we do.
Correct.
So they'll go to restaurants more than we'll basically eat
houses,
outside or
parties or
Anyways, a whole other topic. So when you really got down to it, we could have gotten it, right? Like people do their best.
There's always a possibility.
There's always the possibility. Mm-hmm. So
it could have been the new variant. Who knew?
Could have been. So at this point, I'm panicking because I think that Dave and Owen have it, and either Emmy and I had it and we're not positive anymore, or we're going to get it, and like this is it, right? Mm-hmm. This is what I've been fearing for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
So you really stepped into gear and you were like, we're getting Owen. Oh, no, you called the doctor.
Mm-hmm. So, which was the worst thing to do. Not to say you shouldn't call your doctor. You should always call your doctor. And our kid's doctor is our doctor, and it's great. So this all happened at lunch. So I immediately contact my supervisor and say, hey, just so you're aware, I'm probably going to have to punch out and go to urgent care or my doctor and handle this testing, and I don't know when I'm going to be back. It's perfectly good I did that because honestly, it took 5-6 hours
all afternoon until
it took
6:30.
Until 6 o'clock. So yeah,
6:30. You were home.
So 12 to 6:30 is what this time frame is. So this all happened within 5-6 hours, 6.5. So went into the full grab the bull by the horns mode, contacted the doctor, and because of cases, because of everything that's going on, their protocol is a little bit different. So normally when this has happened in the past, they say, hey, come in, park outside, we'll get a test. If we have rapid, it'll be rapid. If not, it'll be 24, 48 hours.
Our doctor also prefers PCR tests, which is they send it to the lab and get it tested. Type 1s. They don't really have the rapid.
They don't really
ones.
prefer rapid because they tend to be a little less reliable. But their turnaround time for the PCR test usually is about 24 hours. It's pretty quick. It has been in the past. So we called them up, and because any number of reasons, I don't know, but I believe it was mostly because of the infection rate going up quite a bit, because I think our county at that point was 7% or something like that. It was high.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it was high.
I don't follow it anymore because it stresses me out.
We're Finger Lakes, New York. It's the worst in the state.
No, it's not. We live in New York. New York City.
Finger Lakes was worse at one point. Not now. It's not now. It's not now. Around that time, it was the worst for infectious rate.
I'm around Thanksgiving. It was the worst around
in the state.
You're gonna have to cut this out because I think that's very erroneous.
You're just making up words.
Erroneous. Erroneous is a word.
She's just being very. Very sophisticated.
I don't think I'd ever classify erroneous as a sophisticated word.
It's another.
I'm just saying before you spit facts out like that.
It was.
Check them.
Finger Lakes region in New York was at one point in time in the top 3 worst. If it was at one point the worst county or area.
So going back almost 2 years, at one point in time we were the worst.
Recently it exploded a little bit.
We're gonna do some research and see when we actually were the worst.
Yeah, we're not. So
we're not.
So we called the doctor, and it was like the worst possible case. So the doctor advised us to take any positive as a positive, take all the precautions, go into lockdown, go into quarantine, 7 days or 5 days symptom free, which we had no symptoms.
But you and Owen were supposed to quarantine away from me and Emmy because we were negative.
Yeah, which honestly would have been fun, just like hanging out with Owen. But I had to work still.
Yeah,
I work from home, so that's not a thing. One of the downsides of working from home is the fact you can't call in sick. That's not really a thing.
Yeah.
But that would have been great.
Yeah, because we had no symptoms
watched
either.
TV, played Pokemon. It would have been great. But
except you wouldn't have seen your wife and daughter for 5 days.
I mean, that would have been awful. We get some bonding time. Get no bonding time.
Oh, because you and Owen are not bonded at all. We
just hang out in his room and hang out. So they basically said treat any positive like a positive, and you're basically screwed on Thanksgiving.
But you're right. They kept saying, "We're sorry you're feeling sick. What are your symptoms?" You were like, "We have no symptoms."
We were very clear saying that we took these tests just to be precautious. No, at no point in time were they like, "Oh, it could be a false positive." So I called my brother. My brother is a nurse in the pediatric ICU at the local hospital, and I was like, "Dude, like," because we had just seen him the day before. We had dinner at my parents, my mom's house.
Either way, we had to tell him.
Right. So I was like, "Hey, what do we do?" He's like, "What the hell, man?" Like
he was so
mad. He was so mad because apparently at the hospital they have to he had to call in every 6 or 8 hours to report.
There was a bot that asked him every 6 hours how he was feeling.
Yeah, and he had to report in any symptoms or things like that. So he was not happy, but he's like, take any positive as a positive. It's positive until negative. And then I was like, oh, it's like Schrodinger's cat. Like it's dead until proven alive, or alive until proven dead. And then everyone just looked at me like I was a moron.
Wait. Quick side note, Dave once got me a Schrodinger's cat gift.
I thought it was hilarious. I think was it when we were dating?
It was when we were dating, and I didn't really know what Schrodinger... I can't even say it.
Schrodinger's cat?
I didn't know what it was, and he thought it was this, very hilarious
It was
gift.
cool. It was a magic box.
You had to explain it all to me. I didn't know what it was, so I look in this box and there's a dead cat, a fake dead cat in there.
It was the mirror toy. So if you ever have one of those magic mirror boxes where you close it or you open it and there's something in there, you close it and you open it again and it disappears, where it basically just shifts based on where the mirrors are placed. It was one of those, but it had a cat in it. It was alive and dead. It was a Schrodinger's cat box, and it was 6 inches by 4 inches.
You got me a fake dead cat.
I got you a fake dead cat. I thought it was hilarious.
You thought it was
stickers
so
on it.
funny.
It was hilarious. She didn't find it funny.
I mean, we still have it somewhere, but
We don't.
You had to explain it to me.
I had to explain the gift, which I thought you would get it, but you weren't on that nerd.
I only
level.
know sophisticated words, not sophisticated concepts.
Apparently. But everybody knows Schrodinger's cat, I feel like. That's like a general thing. Most people. Hey, if you know Schrodinger's cat, write to us. Spillproofpodcast@gmail.com.
Like this podcast.
Yes. So anyways, I call my brother up, say, hey, what do we do? And he's basically telling me the same thing that everyone else is, which is if it's a positive, it's a positive, it's a positive. Treat it like a positive until it's negative.
But also get a PCR test.
He said you could. He recommended it, but he said treat a positive as a positive until proven negative. Again, we took 2 tests. They were both positive-ish. So we're really lucky where we live. The area around us has some really good healthcare, hospitals, urgent cares, you name it. We've got them all kind of around us. Now, we luckily have, which is really rare actually, pediatric urgent care, only pediatric.
It's wonderful.
I mean, it goes up to 21 apparently, but it's still pediatric. So, because I feel like 21's kind of old.
Yeah, you would think 18 is the cutoff.
Yeah, but it apparently is 21.
21, yeah. Who knew?
But we've gone there frequently. In fact, we're somewhat regulars now.
Yeah, because our kids don't like to get sick on the weekdays.
No, Friday.
Only Friday at 4:00
Yeah.
do they spike fevers.
Yep. Don't know why. Luckily, our insurance covers it, so we're all good. But in any case, so we know based on previous experiences, the pediatric urgent care does rapid tests. We knew that.
And they're not your at-home tests, right? They're
clinical rapid tests. Yeah,
they're a little bit, I think, a little bit more reliable.
What we ended up doing is and what's interesting is, so the pediatric urgent care opens up super late.
It's like 2 to 10 p.m.
Yeah, which is fantastic because honestly,
because then if you after
late.
work, you can take your kids.
Unfortunately, as we said, this all happened around lunch. Now, around this time, it was about 1:30ish, so we decided to go over and get there a little bit early because you kind of need to. And what ended up happening was really weird. So the door, I don't know, either wasn't opened. It was one of those doors where you have to open up with an Allen key, and I don't think they opened it right. I couldn't tell you. So we got there, and we saw people like walking around, running around, and I saw this guy next to me in the car, and I'm like, oh man, he's waiting in his car, so maybe there's whoever's in there was like some special case, and we're waiting to get in. And it's like 10 past, and I see this person walk up, and they just get let right in. And I'm like, okay, so I don't understand what's going on. So I walk up, and the door's locked. Like I pull on it. There's the girl at the reception desk, and she's like, oh, the door's stuck. It's locked, whatever. So she lets us in. But unfortunately, we were like we were in 6th in line or something like that, 5th in line, because we had basically couldn't get into the building, which is unfortunate because we were there when we should have been like 2nd or 3rd. So we went in and said, we're here for a COVID test. I think they said something like he had a runny nose or something like that, which he kind of did.
Kids have had runny noses for the last 7 months.
And here's the thing. So the last time we were there, Owen had some breathing issues, and he was prescribed albuterol, and he got diagnosed with
respiratory airway disease, which is basically could be a precursor to asthma, but he's only 2.
So they don't want to classify him in the asthma category.
He could grow out of it, or he could get asthma one day.
Yeah, so they gave us like $150
nebulizer. Yes. It's very cute though. It's a turtle.
Yeah. Got that bill 4 months later.
Yeah.
But in any case, he needed it, and so we had been, like I said, we had been there recently. We're basically frequent flyers there,
and that made all of this much more nerve-wracking because he does have this off and on respiratory thing. So
he turned out to be, because of that last visit, potentially high risk because of his breathing issues that he has, and I don't think he's going to have asthma, but right now he is a little finicky with the breathing and the coughing.
Yeah, sometimes he'll just have like if he's super active or just out of the blue, he'll have a coughing fit, and we work with him on like slow breathing to calm himself.
Yeah,
which also helps with tantrums.
It does.
But
even the baby's doing it now.
Yeah,
Emmy's doing it.
Every time we tell Owen to take a deep breath, Emmy takes a deep breath, and so it's a lot of in our house going on right now.
It's fantastic.
It's great.
So they let us in. We sit there. Now, from our last visit, I've learned you bring iPad preloaded with downloaded stuff and headphones. We brought that last time we went there for the respiratory airway disease thing and the nebulizer, and because Owen calls it daddy's ears, which is basically it's the headphones we're wearing right now for the podcast. They're not noise canceling, but they're over ear, and then they got a nice long cord and all that stuff. So I brought that all with us because you just never know. I didn't know what they were going to do for us.
Yeah, you didn't know how long it was going to take.
Yeah, and we ended up like playing some stuff on the iPad, Aquanauts or Coconuts as Owen calls it, or something. I don't remember what it was, but I think it was Octonauts. And we got in, like I said, pretty quick. We were in 6th in line, and they brought us in. And I will say this is the only time in one day where I got so many compliments on my Piggly Wiggly shirt. apparently that is like a lot more people know about Piggly Wiggly than I would have expected. I grew up with Piggly Wiggly in Illinois, but the shirt I had was actually from Hilton Head. We had gone there a couple years before for a vacation, and I got the shirt. So super side tangent. Anyways, they brought us in, they checked him in, and Owen has had 7, I would call it. I'm not quite sure. At least 7.
He's had over 10 COVID tests.
Okay, so he's had at least 10 COVID tests. We actually have a video of him sitting there reading a book on our beanbag chair thing, and he all of a sudden just puts his book down and says, "Emmy, better watch out. No COVID or no nose test. No nose test." I think we have it up. It's up on a YouTube channel. I don't know.
YouTube,
we should put it up on our podcast
link
channel. Yeah. And, we can just post it on the podcast channel.
Yeah.
Our Spillproof podcast YouTube channel. Because honestly, it's hilarious. But the kid's had so many COVID tests that he anticipates them. He knows about them. Every time he goes to the doctor's office, he used to be scared of PPE gear, but now he's just scared of nose tests. And he rightfully should be, because normally when he goes to the doctor, he actually does get a COVID test. So much so that this is terrible, but we actually, when he's doing something naughty or dangerous, we say, "Listen, buddy, you don't want to go do that, because if you fall off the couch and you hit your head, we're going to have to go to the hospital, and they're going to give you a nose test." And it's not great. But
we don't say, it's not like something we say every day.
No. But for certain
if
things,
he's running towards the street and I need him to stop,
mm-hmm.
I will say, you don't want to run into the street. You could get hurt. And if you get hurt, we're going to have to go to the doctor, and they're probably going to give you a nose test.
Yeah, they probably will.
They probably will. And also, don't run into the street. So if this makes you not run into the street, I'm cool with it.
Yeah. So we've used that here and there, and varying degrees of what we probably should be doing. But anyways, they brought us in, and he was super nice with the nurse and super happy until he's like, no nose, because they tried taking the temp, and they did it, I want to say via mouth, which was interesting. And he's like, "No nose," and he puts his finger over his nose, and he goes, "No, not nose," and he goes, "Yeah." So Owen, he was really, really good until they did the nose test. I had to, unfortunately, we've done it so many times, I actually know the pose to do, which is put him in my lap, put my right arm over his arms, and put my left hand over his forehead and kind of hold him back and let the doctor or the nurse do the test. And, they're super great there. Some of the suite rooms have like a full bed and TV, bathroom, all that stuff. That was where we went the one time when we went in there for the respiratory airway disease. This time we were in a kind of a normal room, but they still have a bed in there, which is really nice. And they basically came in, checked him. His lungs weren't tight. Everything seemed to check out. And they're like, "We did a rapid test. If you want to wait 30 minutes, you can totally sit here and wait. Or if you want to go home, most people want to go home." And I was like, I got to go get myself tested in my head. And because obviously if you're potentially at risk too, they don't really want you going in there. So I was like, just let us know. Came home, and this was about a 2-hour process, I want to say.
I think it was a little less than 2 hours, but close.
Because
it's probably like 1:30.
Did they give him a nebulizer? I feel like they
not this time.
They didn't.
No, not this time.
So I brought him home, and I was like, you know what? Because at this point, I think you clocked out of work, right?
No, I don't think I did. I think Emmy was napping, so I was working while she was napping.
Okay.
And you had
so
Owen,
I brought Owen home and said, "Hey, we'll figure out this." And I think while we were doing that,
I think then he napped.
Yeah.
He came home and fell asleep.
Yeah, because he was doing in the car ride. The car ride kind of put him to sleep.
They were both napping till almost 4:00.
But I don't know if we had gotten the test back right away or...
It was about 30, 35 minutes.
It was pretty quick.
But it was before you left to go to urgent care to get yourself tested. We got the call from the pediatric urgent care.
That's right, because for some reason I went there, gave them my phone number, but they called you.
They called my phone, and Owen came back negative.
Yeah, so totally in the clear.
So Owen was good.
Which is what we knew. We knew that we were negative.
You knew. I was in panic mode and was.
We had no symptoms.
I was sure we all had COVID.
You were positive that we were all.
I was like, Dave, they're positive. A positive is a positive. We all have COVID. You need to like get on this train that we have COVID and get on my level.
Actually, and I think looking back on it now, you may have felt like we were dismissing it a little bit, but we had no symptoms. And I realize you can be asymptomatic and there's more to it than just symptoms. But the only reason we took it wasn't because we were exposed, wasn't because we were having symptoms. It was literally just to have everyone get peace of mind. Yeah. And it went completely sideways. Yeah. So I say, okay, great. My doctor has basically told us to quarantine. I know I don't have COVID. Let me go to urgent care. So I went to urgent care.
Allegedly, he didn't have COVID. I was assured at this point that he still had COVID.
And here's the thing. I could have taken Owen, gone to urgent care, and had him with me and whatever. But
you brought him home so he could nap.
I brought him home so he could nap, and I didn't really want to bring him to a place that had a bunch of sick people, which is actually great because when I got there, the waiting room was full. So if you haven't been to the doctor recently, which I have to imagine everybody has, at least where we live, they separate in the waiting room. So, like, you have the patient, support person, and nobody. So, like, everyone's, like, social distance in the seating area, so there's always open seats, which you are not allowed to sit in. And I already knew walking in, I believe I knew, that they're going to have to do a full workup on me. Because that's apparently the way that it is now, is that if you, at least where we live, if you go in for a COVID test, you can't just get a COVID test. You actually have to get a full workup, as if, it's a full doctor visit. Almost a physical, to be honest. But went in, the lady at the reception's like, what are your symptoms? And I'm like, I coughed yesterday. And she's like, okay, so cough, fever. I'm like, no. Achiness, whatever.
I think you were like possible exposure.
Yeah.
You're like, I just need a test, please.
Honestly, at a certain point, I just started pulling answers out of my rear. I said my son had, at this point, we knew Owen was negative, but I said, my son might have been exposed and blah, 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 blah. Unfortunately, telling some half-truths and white lies to this person. Because honestly, it was really more like somebody coming up to you and be like, so you did this crime, right? You were there, you had a gun, you did. Like they were leading me into this stuff. No, obviously not that severe, but we've been watching a lot of Castle. My brain just went to police
crime
interviews.
show.
Crime show. Everybody likes true crime. That's not true crime. But anyways. Get in there, sit there for, I want to say I was like
you
8th or 9th in line. I was waited for
close
45
to an
minutes.
hour, I want to say.
Hour, yeah. And we go to this urgent care quite a bit. It's very nice.
Yeah, it's if our doctor's not available, this is the place we'll go to because
they're linked to it. That's what's great.
Yeah.
They're in the same system, so all the notes go to it. Unfortunately, with the pediatric urgent care, it's a separate system, so all the stuff that happens there doesn't actually get to our pediatrician. Anyways, so I knew I had to get a full workup. What I didn't know was going to happen is that they were going to take my blood pressure, which happens. When you go to any place, they take your blood pressure, and it would be 176 over like 120.
Guys, Google that and tell us what it says.
Because
it's not good.
It's not good. Historically, I've had higher blood pressure, typically in the 150s-ish. I'm adopted, so honestly, we don't know what my medical history is, but we believe now at this point that it probably was hereditary, and high blood pressure probably is going to be something that, because I'm not overly unhealthy.
No, we eat pretty healthy. I mean, we have our days, right? But
yeah.
In general, we eat fairly healthy, fairly lean. We could work out more.
But everybody can.
Right, yeah.
It's worse now that we're work from home and we don't do as much walking at work.
Sedentary.
Yeah. Pulling out those big words again, aren't we?
I knew you were going to say that.
I saw you looking me away from my reaction. So in any case, super high, super crazy. They asked me a bunch of questions. They give me the COVID test. Unfortunately, they give me a regular COVID test, not a rapid.
Like a full PCR
like a full,
test.
like
sent to the lab.
They
gonna
shoved
take
it.
24 to 48
They
hours.
took that Q-tip, shoved it so far in my nose that I could feel it tickling my rear. And
that's an image.
It is. Think about that for a second. But because of the blood pressure, they wanted to make sure there was no other issues. So I went in there for a COVID test. I had a actually 2 chest x-rays to make sure there was no blood clots, and a EKG. I believe it was an EKG where they put all the little stickers all over you, and was that stress test or whatever it is? Or just, I guess it's an EKG. Did all of that. They retook my blood pressure, and it was still in the 150s-ish, but it's been in like that for almost a year now, I want to say. Mm-hmm. So they're like, you know what? Blood pressure meds, which I've been trying to avoid, unfortunately, and because I haven't done what I'm supposed to, ended up getting those, and honestly, it's been really good.
You didn't get those that day. You went to the doctor's afterwards.
I did.
Yeah.
I did a follow-up appointment. The doctor prescribed them, and
so silver lining, right? Like this was a traumatic experience, but silver lining, you were able to set up the appointment you needed to get this looked at and taken care of.
Yeah. So, whatever. Anyways, I'm still alive. My heart hasn't exploded. We're good.
It's much lower. Your blood pressure is much lower now.
It is much lower now. Potentially too low, depending on who you talk to. Kind of went in the other direction. Anyways, more to the point. So this all happened Wednesday. As everybody knows, Thanksgiving's on a Thursday. Mm-hmm. So this was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So we were told that it was going to be sometime tomorrow.
Yeah.
And at this point, the rate of infection was still low enough that turnaround time was actually pretty quick.
In like 24 hours.
Yeah. So they said, you will hear tomorrow. So we're like, great. So as Becky said, we had 2 Thanksgivings planned. We had one with her parents, and then one with my mom and my brother. So hers was going to be like noonish, sometime around
lunch.
That.
One was lunch and one was dinner.
Yeah. So one was lunch and one was dinner. We start getting close up to it, and we still haven't heard anything. Still haven't heard anything. Checking the website to make sure there's no information, and unfortunately,
we missed
that Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we missed lunch Thanksgiving.
We did. Luckily, the rest of the family was able to make it in some regards. And
it was like, because of everything, it was just a very, 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 there's only 3 people at my parents.
Inside.
Yes. My other family members, they ate on the deck. It was nice enough out that they ate on the deck and got to see each other.
Yeah.
Through the windows and stuff.
So we still got to be there.
We got food left on the front porch. And I picked it up. We live in the same neighborhood as my parents, so I drove over around lunchtime.
I feel like we said that before.
My mom left it on the front step. I picked it up. I put it in the car. I cried because I thought it was too little food.
I forgot
for Thanksgiving.
I think you texted her and called her later and like, this is it?
I saw her put it on the front step, this front stoop, and I was standing outside in the driveway, and I said, "That's it." And she was like, "Well, what do you want more of? I'll give you more of anything." And I was like, "No, that's fine." And I immediately started crying because I wanted to be with my family. We wanted last year was
really she just wanted more food.
I just wanted more. I wanted more stuffed mushrooms. I wanted more develed eggs. I'm a sides girl. We had no dessert.
There's no dessert. We got it later.
We got it later. But I that's when I decided to have my teary moment.
Yeah, that was the
I came home and walked in.
The climax of it all.
I came home, walked in with like 2 Tupperwares full of food.
The big.
And even Dave goes, oh, that's it? And I was like, yes, this is it, Dave. So then my mom had called and said, you can have as much as you want. I just wasn't sure how much the kids were going to eat, how much you were going to eat.
And it wasn't because there was a lack of food. I mean, there was
so much
full
food.
turkeys there, plus a ton of sides. Because your mom does
she does
awesome,
really
crazy
good
sides.
Yeah. So
the sides almost trump the turkey because there's so many.
Yeah, I prefer the sides over the turkey.
Although this year the 2 turkeys were fairly big, so there actually was quite a bit left over.
There was a lot of turkey, yeah. So, but I that was when I cried because I was like, we put a movie on for the kids and we did a picnic in the family room and
our legendary picnics.
We picnicked in the family room and it was different. Normally you're with your entire family sitting around a huge table, swapping stories, eating a ton of food, making our kids making a mess because they're messy eaters. And it was just the 4 of us. And it was fun. I love being with our family, but we've been with each other a lot these last almost 2 years. So, was hoping for a little bit of a bigger family get together. So I cried a little. I had my pity party.
But you know what was cool is that we basically had our own Thanksgiving and cooked 0 food.
We did. We cooked nothing. Nothing.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So none of the cleanup, but all of the
yeah, and my wonderful mom, she was we ended up video chatting her and my dad, and she kept saying, I'll bring over anything you want. I'll bring over stuff for dinner. I'll bring over whatever. And at that point, your mom had said she was going to drop off dinner for us.
Yeah, because it was still up in the air, what was going to happen. Because at this point, it was probably
we were not 100% confident that we were going to hear back that day. We were hopeful, but not confident.
Yeah. As it got later in the day.
So, yeah, she was going to bring dessert over later, and we were like, you know what? We're doing okay now. We got our tears out. We're good for a while. So the kids went down for a nap, and you actually laid down too.
I did?
You did. Huh. You laid down upstairs. We all kind of
leaned into that being sick.
You were like, I'm sick. So the kids were both napping. Dave had gone up to our room to take a nap. I think I was just watching TV, about to fall asleep on the couch. And I get a text from Dave from upstairs saying, I'm negative.
Yeah.
And I flipped out. I ran upstairs. I jumped. He was laying in our bed. I jumped on our bed and I was like, no way, no way, no way. Mm-hmm. It was right around 3:00.
It was. Mm-hmm. Which was great because I think we had scheduled my Thanksgiving with my mom at 5?
It was going to be 5, yeah.
Yeah. Because I get out at 4:30, which we had.
Nobody works on Thanksgiving, so you wouldn't have gotten out at 4:30.
Oh yeah. Why did we schedule so late? Anyways.
I mean, 5:00 is not, because we were going to be coming from another lunch meal. Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
We were giving ourselves time to digest.
You're right. So we got the great news that it was.
We were so excited.
So it was. I mean, it was a little more than 24 hours, but it wasn't by much.
Yeah. Or less than 24 hours.
Oh, you know what? You're right. It was a little bit less.
Yeah, a little bit less.
It would have been a little bit less. So it was. We got the great news. So the good news is that while we missed our first Thanksgiving, we were able to make our second Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. It was really fun.
And it was really great. It was, just our family, my brother and my mom, and the food was great, and it was really just great to spend time with the family, to be honest. Which, again, same neighborhood. Yep, my mom lives over.
She literally lives 3 houses down on our street.
And across the street.
So we walked over.
Yeah, it was really great.
It was awesome. We were so excited. We were so pumped to just be able to participate in a Thanksgiving. I made us all get dressed up so we could take a family picture.
So uncomfortable.
I know. I wore jeans. F that on Thanksgiving. I
wore
jeans.
This red itchy sweater that just
But I was like, this is it. We're having Thanksgiving. We're going to take a family picture. We're all going to look awesome and smile. So everyone appeased me.
And we took a picture, but I'm pretty sure I had bedhead in it.
Yeah, because you were sleeping an hour and a half prior. It's fine. I love the pictures. But I will say throughout those 24, 36 hours, I had a lot of feeling like, and I will say, I don't think at-home tests are wrong, right? Like we just happen to be in that 15% or like 5% where we got two false positives.
But we took another one. We missed a step here.
We did. We took a third at-home test later.
Later, yeah.
It was later.
So while we were waiting for the test results to come back for me, your mom went out or had another one?
My mom went to Wegmans
plug.
Wegmans and got a COVID test from Wegmans.
And it was a different brand. It was a different type. God knows
like the way you did
it was more like a pregnancy test where you dropped the drop in the thing.
There's a lot of different kinds of pregnancy tests.
Don't you just pee on a stick and it tells you if you're R or R?
Sometimes you pee on a stick. Sometimes you pee in a cup and then you put the dropper in. And
we've tried a lot of pregnancy tests.
Yeah, we have. There's a lot of variety out there.
Anyways, this is one of those ones that you put the drop. You do the dropper stick in it.
Yeah.
And it was negative.
It was negative.
And it was negative.
Right. But we had two quote unquote positives and a negative, and then the PCR test was ultimately negative the day later. But we went through a lot of emotions of like, I think just frustration, anger,
a sense of loss.
Loss, and then but also understanding because we were totally down for this test. Yeah. We were like, no problem.
And even to the end, even after everything that happened, while we were annoyed with the things that we had to do and jump through and the fact that, it cost us about $100 because of copays, we still stood by the fact that it was probably the right thing to do.
Yeah, right. It probably was the right thing to do.
What if it was real? What if it just happened to be that we were asymptomatic? You just don't know. And I would say even to this day, we still feel like it was the right thing to do to get tested.
It just sucks the way it happened. And we went...
That being said, we are not doing that for Christmas.
We're not.
just fast forwarding here to today.
Like our Christmas celebrate... Well, we've already done Christmas with your mom and your brother.
Correct, because due to staffing issues, my brother had to work Christmas.
Extra hours, yes. Yeah. But tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and that is with my family, and we have decided we're not going to do at-home tests. We're just, we're going to go and be together as a family, and I'll be honest, I've even gone back and forth like, wait, should we take a test? I don't know. We're not going to, but I am that type of person where like I'm going to run every scenario and freak out and then be like, no, we're doing it. It's fine. You're going to run
every scenario other than the one where we don't have COVID.
Correct. I'm going to run every negative scenario in my head and freak out about it.
Let's just put that out there.
Yeah. So Christmas Eve is tomorrow, and we always celebrate Christmas Eve with my family, and we're all going to be there. And
just say it. We're all going to be there. Everything's going to be fine.
We're going to be fine. I had a minor panic earlier today.
Twice.
Maybe 3 times. He doesn't know about the third time. There's a lot of anxiety around this. And like I said, I was super annoyed. Like at one point in time, I was super annoyed that we had to do. I was like, why did we have to do these at-home tests? This was so dumb. They're not, right? Like there are probably 85% of the time they work, and they do catch a scenario where you could potentially be passing COVID on to someone else. In our instance, they both came back negative. We're so lucky after we should have
played the lotto.
Should have. But, there's more people vaccinated this time as we go into Christmas, and we're just going to have some great family time and, enjoy it. And maybe one day we'll tell you all about Creepy Santa.
I thought we did.
Did we tell you all about Creepy Santa?
If you haven't listened to our traditions episode.
You're right. Listen to traditions.
Listen to our traditions episode.
You'll learn all about Creepy Santa.
And that'll all be into context.
So Creepy Santa's happening tomorrow, and there will probably be screams and tears from our children. But
yeah,
actually, that's how we roll.
Oh, it's funny. Owen was actually looking out the window at my mom's house to make sure Santa wasn't out there. He goes, oh, no. There's no Santa out there.
Yeah, he's been keeping an eye out. So it'll be interesting. We will report back on how Christmas went soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well,
we'll do it soon.
Creepy Santa's Christmas.
Yes, we're really excited. But moral of the story is we're not going to do at-home tests because they burned us.
Mm-hmm.
They might not burn everyone. They just happen to burn us.
One of our Thanksgivings.
They did.
Again, we stand by them, and we think that,
Listen,
get tested. And
in every family, there's going to be a lot of different opinions. And right now is the time to make sure you can help your group, your family, be as comfortable as possible.
Yeah.
So do what you can to make everyone feel comfortable and safe. I'm never going to regret doing something to make someone feel more safe. It just kind of bit us in the butt this time, right? Like, what are the odds? What are the chances?
It was unfortunate.
It sucked in the end, but I don't think we would have made a different decision.
No, I don't think we would have.
We still would have done that again and again. So
minus for Christmas.
Minus tomorrow, we're not doing it. Even though it's
aside from that
recommended. We're not going to do it. We want to have Christmas.
We just put that out there and backtrack.
Listen. We're just trying to get through the holidays.
Yeah.
It's been a long almost 2 years. We're just trying to get through the holidays.
We're not going to do anything for New Year's. We're staying home.
We never do anything for New Year's.
Well, now you got to say that. It just throws
They know. They know from traditions. We eat hors d'oeuvres.
We do.
And that's it.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to the traditions episode, listen to the traditions episode.
Wait, how do you say tradition?
Traditions. Tradition. Oh, boy.
I think I'm going to cut us off right now.
At least for the podcast.
Yep.
So that was both Thanksgivings.
Yeah.
Got a bonus one in there.
We did.
And honestly, the reason why I wanted to get this out before, which will have minimum editing, is the fact is if anybody has the idea of doing this before Christmas, we're not recommending it, but just understand the ramifications for when you take an at-home test.
There's a 15% chance it could go very wrong.
Yeah. You might be the lucky one where you're false negative.
Or even less. There's a
false positive.
2% chance it could go very wrong.
Yeah.
For the most part, you'll be fine.
Yes.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Merry holiday.
Yep.
And happy new
year.
Holiday.
Merry holiday and happy new holiday, everyone.
Woo. All right. We made it through it. All right.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this essentially unedited podcast. See you next time. Thanks for listening to the Spillproof podcast. As always, reach out to us at spillproofpodcast@gmail.com.
We'd love to hear from you all, and we can't wait to talk with you next time.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.